Hello and welcome, and thank you for joining us again today here at True Thought Spiritual Community. It's my honor and pleasure to be with you today. I am Brother T, one of the co-founders, along with my wife, Rev Renee, and we're so glad that you're joining us again today. All month long this month, we've been talking about forgiveness. So the lesson today will continue about forgiveness, and I certainly appreciate you being here. Before we begin, let's join together for a brief moment of silence. Let's take a good deep breath and turn within together. It is with deepest gratitude that we come together to join Spirit in the space of our hearts, in the very center of our being. That's where we are joined with Spirit, and we say thank you, thank you, thank you for being with us today. And we ask Spirit to guide us in this conversation today, in this message, this inspirational message with true thought, spiritual principle. And we are so grateful for all who get a chance to participate in the joy that we feel and experience and being a part of this community. And we say thank you very much to all of our brothers and sisters who are participating and supporting this work of teaching truth so that we can be free of illusion. And so it is. Okay, so let's just jump right in. Well, the first week in discussing forgiveness, I tried to lay a foundation. And then last week was Valentine's Day, and that's an exceptional opportunity to practice forgiveness for some of us, right? In fact, if not for most of us. And it's also an opportunity to realize that it really supports the discussion we had the week before, which is that there is an opportunity to be fearful as we travel through this life here in physical form, or there's an opportunity to be joined in love, in union and relationship with love. And that's a absolutely completely different experience. So Rev Claudia's experience, or Rev Claudia's communication last week, I should say, was about the celebration of love. And that's really what forgiveness is. And because forgiveness is the removal of our mind's attention to fear and a return to our mind's attention to love. And so that's really one of the most important things that we can take out of the conversation today, is that forgiveness is a return to love. But in our foundational conversation a couple of weeks ago, I did try to share with you that we have basically two thought systems. It's a binary system. It's the thought system of fear and the thought system of love. So today, in order to continue to understand how we can truly practice forgiveness, there are a couple of things that we have to become comfortable with. And I'm just going to reiterate just a little bit. Number one, there's two thought systems. There's the thought system of the ego, or the thought system of the world, and we call it the thought system of fear, or the thought system of separation. And then there's also the thought system of God, the will of God, what God's thoughts are, the love of God, that mind, that we are all an extension of that mind. And that, we could say, is the truth, the true world, the real world. Our natural state of being is to be joined in that mind and to allow the expression of love, thoughts of God, to be expressed through us wherever we are, whatever we're doing. We're extending that love when we're joined in that relationship. So the point is that if we're in the mind of fear, we're in the mind of illusion. And fear is always trying to protect itself, and it works to separate itself from whatever's going on in its perception outside of itself, and it tries to protect itself through condemnation, or we could say judgment. But most judgment tends to be condemnation. But the point is that act of judging sets up a frequency or vibration, and it sets up an opportunity for condemnation, and it sets up an opportunity for us to be entrapped or to be, experience for ourselves that the idea of guilt. So when we express condemnation outside of ourselves, or we express judgment outside of ourselves, we're actually projecting self-guilt, guilt that we have already judged ourselves for and what we believe ourselves to be guilty for. And we don't like how that feels. It's unconscious. We do it unconsciously, and we look outside and we just judge and say, this is good, this is bad, that's evil. that's holy, whatever definitions we give it. But we have talked about the fact that that mind is just like the sleeping self at night. It doesn't really have the whole picture. It's not even aware you're safe and home in bed. And this self right now, this ego self, this ego body-mind construct has no concept of the bigger picture of who we are in God, in the mind of God. So I want to share with you that the way that we can begin to practice true forgiveness begins first and foremost with a reconnection to that self, to that mind, to that spirit that we are, the right mind, if you will, the true self that resides within our very being. So how can we do that? Well, I want to kind of give you an analogy. So if you'd like to, just close your eyes for a moment. And I'm just going to talk about a scenario that we might find ourselves in. Let's imagine that we are in a location, wherever it might be, and we've been told that there's a hurricane coming, that there's a storm coming. And in that announcement, we recognize and know that means there's going to be a lot of chaos. There's going to be a lot of uncertainty. There's going to be a lot of confusion. There might be some physical damage and disarray of our safety. And so we want to protect ourselves. And so as we do that, we kind of protect ourselves and brace ourselves against the storm. So let's say we've done that. We've battened down the hatches, so to speak, and we have the windows boarded up and we feel comfortable, we feel safe in that space. But the wind still comes, the rain still comes, and the storm is still there. And so we feel buffeted, even if our house, we're safe inside, but we feel the buffeting of all of this kinetic energy, all of this physical energy, this storm that's happening. And so we're kind of huddled in and we're kind of hunkered down, but we're still in the midst of it all. And so it's circulating around and around, right? And things are blowing around and we're looking out our windows. We can see all of this calamity going on. And that's really, in large part, exactly what's happening out in the world almost all the time. There's always all this calamity and movement and force energies moving back and forth. And most of it, that we're exposed to is from our human actions here in the world and our way that we interact with each other or war with each other or govern with each other or whatever it is that we're doing. But imagine, if you will, in our story that as the storm passes over, that you suddenly find yourself, everything is calm. And what you begin to recognize is that you're in the center of the storm. Because in the very center of the storm, there is no, you can literally see what's going on around you, but you're kind of you're in this, couched in this very comfortable place. There's almost no wind. There's no rain. It's like this donut hole, right, in the middle of the storm. And if we can find a way to be in that place in our mind, when we practice being with people, when we practice forgiveness, when we practice meditation, no matter what we are doing, if we come to that quiet, safe space, the eye of the storm, then we can still see what's going on around us. But now that we're in that space, we are at peace. And that's where we really need to be to truly practice forgiveness, because once we get in that space, we can turn within and we can listen and begin to dialogue and communicate, to commune with that inner voice of wisdom. And that's what's available to us, this beautiful, fantastic, amazing voice of wisdom. And so when we turn within, we connect with that voice. I start out by just simply saying, "Are you there?" And then I listen. And of course, I always feel the wash because I know I'm not alone. I'm not separate. That's impossible. And I feel the vibration. I feel the energy. And I feel that communication opening up with that higher self. And then I take whatever my issue is with anybody, whatever it might be. It could be something as simple as just being somebody that I don't like. Well, there's some forgiveness work. If you are thinking about, well, I've forgiven everybody, I don't have anything, is there anybody you can even imagine that you don't like? And for all of us, that's pretty easy to come up with at least a short list of people that we just don't like that person, whatever it is, whoever it is, whatever their role is, whatever their capacity is. That's where we can do some forgiveness work. And so we turn within and we might hold that person that we don't like for whatever reason in our mind. and we connect with that spirit within us and we say, here's how I feel. In other words, we own our feelings, we own our thoughts, we own how we are expressing in the world here. And we say, this is how I see this, but I want to know the truth. What is the truth? So those are the two steps that we take at first. We find that quiet space, like the eye of the storm, and we turn within and we join in dialogue, we join in communion. We simply recognize and acknowledge that we're not alone in the center of our being, in this place of peace and space of peace. And then we bring to mind whatever we think needs to be forgiven, whatever it may be, high or low, big or small. And now that we're in this space, we turn to that spirit within us and we simply say, I offer this to you. I'm giving this to you. What is the truth in this situation? How can I forgive this person? How can I move beyond disliking someone? How can I move beyond this energy of condemnation so that I can be released from my own self-condemnation? And the reason I'm saying that is because there really is no one else out there. We are all one in the body of Christ. We are all one in the mind of God. We're all joined together as this perfect child of God. And so anytime we're exercising judgment, condemnation, or any thoughts whatsoever of judgment against anybody, anywhere, we are out of alignment with truth, because in truth, that's not who we are. We're not the judging self. God doesn't forgive. Now, this is a big statement. It comes from A Course in Miracles, and I'll share it with you. God doesn't condemn, so God doesn't need to forgive anybody. Now, think about that for just a moment. God is always in the center of space, this place of peace, where everything is always quiet and beautiful and loving and joyful and blissful. And those are the moments that we have, and those are the moments that we want to return to as we step back out into the storm of the world, so to speak. But in this place, in the eye of the storm where we find ourselves, that's where we can join with God. But God doesn't condemn anything, because God doesn't choose to dream. God doesn't condemn anything, because all is perfect. So there's never really anything for God to forgive. But forgiveness is an attribute of love as we know it, because we have slipped into an illusory state of mind, and it's called separation. And from this state of mind, we need to practice forgiveness. But the only way to truly understand is to begin to see that when the Holy Spirit, nothing more than our right mind, begins to communicate with us and enlighten our minds to the truth of who and what we are, and the truth of who everything and everyone is. In our experience here, we begin to see beyond the appearance of fear, beyond the appearance of calamity, beyond the appearance of a storm, and we can see right through that to the perfect innocence of each and every one of our brothers and sisters. But we cannot do that from the separated state of mind. We can only do that when we're joined with our higher self. So that's our practice, because once we've joined with that higher self, then forgiveness is as natural as breathing. And everything we see with innocence, and we let go of the illusory idea that we're even capable of judging anything, and we become in alignment with truth. True thought principles bring us into alignment with truth, and we begin to recognize that there's nothing to judge, because illusions are illusions. If I say I have an apple and an orange, which one's best? It doesn't matter which choice you make, because they're both illusions. We're always making choices about illusions. And once we begin to withhold and withdraw our thinking process and judging process, and recognizing that we're just judging illusions, it doesn't really matter. Like the sleeping self at night might have an experience in a dream that's pretty radical or strange or horrifying even, but when we wake up, we don't judge the people that we had the dream with, and we don't try to go back to sleep tonight and fix it all up, or get even, or get to justice, or whatever name we want to give it, because we recognize that's ridiculous. It was an illusion. It was just a story that we made up in our mind and gave it a place to play out, and we became the main actor. But when we wake up, we realize that there really never was anything going on. It was an illusory experience. Well, that's what ascension is like. And as part of our community, that's our focus, is to continue to do the things that lead us higher and higher into higher levels of consciousness, higher levels of vibration, higher levels of true forgiveness in the world. And we begin to release our brothers and sisters, but what we're really releasing is ourselves, because all we've ever done is really judged ourselves. We don't always recognize it. It's very subtle, and it's even unconscious most of the time. But when we do that, we hold that within ourselves, and it unsettles us. It makes us very uncomfortable. And so what our opportunity then is, when we see other people doing things, is to project that guilt, that self-condemnation out on them. So once we release them from our condemnation, we have then begun the process of truly loving and forgiving ourselves. So that's our discussion for today. I hope in some way this might help you this week, and that you can find yourself in the center of the storm, no matter what might be going on in your life. And in that moment of peace and quiet, connect with the inner self, connect with your higher self, connect with the love of God that resides in your heart, and allow that voice then to be your expression. Allow that knowing to be who you become. As our brother Jesus said, when you see me, you see the Father. He wasn't judging anyone, because he had already joined in mind and heart with all that is, and knew that this is an experience of illusion. And once that transcendence occurs to you, and it will, it already is happening right now. It's already happening. That's why you're participating in this conversation today. And as you let that be with you, you begin to get your true identity back. You're perfect, neither behind the point of perfection nor advancing toward it. And we must see ourselves therefrom. That's my message for today. God bless you for being here. We love you. Thank you so much for your love and support of our community. And we bless you to have a wonderful and beautiful week. Thank goodness for you. Bye-bye.